Thanks for tuning in to Raising Bosses. I'm your host, Shauna J. Ray. Here on this podcast, we discuss changing our mindsets, growing a business while raising a family. If that's what you're interested in or currently doing, please stay tuned for what we have ahead. Shauna J. Ray, coming back with a solo podcast interview. I wanted to get on here and talk about something that I have not talked about in detail yet, and that is getting our kids to pursue their hopes, dreams, and aspirations, whatever that might be. I want us as parents to get out of the habit of telling kids certain things about, what they can and cannot do in their future. We are out here raising bosses. Remember that, and always understand that that is our first and foremost goal with these things, whether it's a boss in life or a boss in business. So I'm going to just get in here and kind of delve into what I'm getting at. Now, how I was raised, I was not raised with my mom. She never told me, to forget anything or, not follow my passions. My mom was always the type of person to sit me down and say, well, what are you interested in? And she would go from there and find everything in her power to get me better at, figure out how to help me be better at what I liked, what I was talented at, what I was passionate for. And she also let me dabble in various things that she thought I would just be, enjoy trying. And that's something else good too, because, that I'll get into later on how that can help a child as well. Now, we live in a digital age now. When I was growing up, it was more of an analog age where there was only a few ways to make money, like real money, and that was going to school, working hard, and getting into a trade such as being a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. Or if you got lucky, you were really talented, maybe you were an actress or into sports. And if you got the real, there's the lottery, and there's also being a rapper or something like that, if you actually made it in that area. So back then, it was so hard to get into the business that people often didn't think it was worth time and effort. So I get it. I understand it. And majority of the people listening to this podcast grew up in that same era and understand what I'm talking about. If you're even a little bit older, you might have grown up where it's like there's no such thing as not being a doctor or a lawyer to make money. Anything else is just ridiculous. You know what I mean? So, and I understand that. And I understand that sometimes these generational, beliefs, generational beliefs can trickle down. And I'm trying to be the person or be a part of the people that actually stop that and, bring it back, especially in this digital age. It's not even about that isn't true anymore. It's the fact that that's actually very true. It's a lot of money in being a doctor, a lawyer, and things like this. And, but nowadays it's actually very easy to get into various types of things. So when it comes to children nowadays living in a digital age, we need to understand ways for kids to pursue their passions and worry about the other stuff later. Now, when I was growing up, my mother, she knew how to sew. She taught me how to sew when I was like 5. My grandfather, I was in his business of embroidery at the shop with him. So I grew up around it. So I saw not only an entrepreneur, but I saw someone create constantly. And I love to create on a sewing machine. So my mom always backed me. My grandparents always backed me in pursuing sewing. So ways that my mom did that was buying me books, buying me patterns and things that I would have needed to pursue sewing as best she could. And one of the most influential things that she did for me was actually send me to Joanne Fabrics to take a few classes in learning how to make patterns that I like to make. Now, I actually really, really loved this, and I had a great teacher on top of the fact that my mom, had some side to it as well, teaching me. So I actually flourished really well. And when I was a teenager, I did start making clothes myself from basically nothing, or, playing with patterns and things, just from what I learned before YouTube. Now, mind you, this is like 5-6 years before YouTube. So there was no, you'd have a few blog posts or whatever. That's about all I could find online. But there was no videos. It wasn't nothing like, YouTube there where they walk you through it. I just went with it. Now, I wish at that time I would have realized the shift that was about to happen, because I feel like if I would have started blogging or trying to have like a YouTube situation, then I could have been a little bit more successful now. But don't we all say that about Google and everything else in the world? We wish we had that idea. We wish we would have started then. And I'm moving on, because now there is no reason to say that when we have it right. We have that ability to do that right now. And it's not about starting late. It's about just starting. Okay. So in this digital age, I'm going to keep saying that we're no longer in that analog, hard work age anymore. The hard work shifts in a different way now. So for our children, I'm not used to hearing parents. I was never used to hearing parents sit there and tell their children, don't worry about doing X, Y, Z because it's never going to make you any money. There's no reason to waste your time. And I've heard that, but usually it's like, teenagers about to go to college, about to pursue life. You know what I mean? So I get it in a certain type of way. I completely get it. But I'm going to tell you guys a few stories, and I'm also going to elaborate on different ways that I know that I hear parents say this to their children. And I'm going to elaborate on a bunch of different ways that can help you get your children making money, whether it be now or in the future with their passions and their talents. So let's not ward them off from that just yet. Okay. All right. Awesome. So let me just tell you guys a little story. So I had a lady, I was doing her daughter's hair, and while I was doing her hair, I looked down, she's drawing on her tablet, like her note or whatever, big tablet, drawing on it. I look down and she's drawing anime characters and switching back and forth between YouTube videos. And she's saying to herself, okay, figuring it out. And I looked at her, I'm like, wow, like you're amazing. Like she was a young child. She was in elementary school at the time, not yet anywhere near, about to go to middle school age. So you can kind of gauge right there how old she is. And, young with such talent. And I was just floored. Well, as I am praising this young child, her mom just looks at me and goes, yeah, I keep telling her not to waste her time. There's no money in it. And I was just completely in awe, because I'd never heard someone say that to a child so young, because she's, you're not teaching her how to drive yet. You're not worried about her driving a car, or, you're not worried about her living certain other life situations out. Why are you worried about her making money? No offense to the mom whatsoever. Now, I know we all do this to our kids, whether it be supporting them or telling them the latter. We do this out of love, and I get that. And if you're that parent, feel free to contact me either through DMs or through my email. DM me on Instagram or Facebook at Raising Bosses, or at raisingbosses@gmail.com. And feel free to explain to me if you disagree or how you feel about what I am saying in this podcast. I open that up in every episode. Feel free to always contact me. Now, I know that she does this out of love, because of course you don't want your child to get out into this big bad world and then realize, yeah, this isn't as easy as it was when I was, a child. And she said that, and I stopped her and I said, she doesn't need to worry about money right now. She doesn't need to worry about making money. She doesn't need to worry about, going out and fighting and worried about taking care of herself, based on a job or anything. Why even stress that to her at this age? And I said, anime of all things and comics have been around for so long, and there's so many different aspects to where you can make money out of it. So why don't you figure out, one, how to make her better at what she does? She's already striving at such a young age. She's already striving to figure out how to do it better. And then if you put her, through something that's actually going to help her, maybe it is buy her more tools, maybe it is more classes. You don't know where she could go from there. It might just be a hobby right now, or it might be a segue to a greater talent, passion, or career. And, after our little talk, she did agree with me. And I started telling her, I was like, first you want to figure out how to make her better. Point blank, period. She's already got the talent just by herself. Make her better. And, there's these classes, things like that, videos, courses, things like that. And she did agree with me. I'm not sure if she followed through with it, but just for her to hear my side of what was going on. Now, even now, I am not a fashion designer like I once wanted to be. I still can sew. I still have the ability to make my children clothes and things like that. And that has gotten me money here and there. I've just not pursued it. I think that if I really would have battened down and pursued it in a certain type of way, I would have gotten what I wanted, because in the here and now, the things that I do pursue, I have gotten what I want out of it. So with that being said, let me just explain a little bit more, guys. Remember that in this day and age, everything is a thing. What I mean by that is don't tell your child that something's not going to make money. Don't tell your child that it's not worth their time. Everything is a thing. I remember when I was like maybe 10 or 12, they came out with those saran wrap. They basically were shower caps. Shower caps, guys, for your Tupperware. Shower caps for bowls that don't have lids and things like that. And I remember everybody going, wait a minute, why didn't I think of that? Everything is a thing nowadays. What is the harm in even trying? I am not saying put millions of dollars towards your kids, simplest ideas. I'm saying, well, if that's your concern, let's see how we can monetize it. That's always my thought. I think this whole podcast, I think every episode, I always explain how I am always trying to figure out ways to make money. And because there is so many options nowadays, there are so many ways to actually monetize life in so many different areas. So everything's a thing. So why, if your child is into art or movies or whatever, instead of telling them that that's not a good idea, maybe switch the script and say, hey, let's go make money with it this way. Or just in your own mind say, hey, let me write a list of ways that they can make money off of this so that I can introduce them to it when they're ready, or maybe start dripping on them now so that when they're ready, we could just dive right in and then we can start making money now. So when you are coming out of college, you already have the money that I was worried about you making to go into college, right? So, or maybe that's their career now, what have you. So you first need to go to find ways to make their talents better. See what they like to do. So my daughter is good at gymnastics naturally. She just jumps out of she just started walking and started jumping around and doing gymnastics. I've always put her into gymnastics things. Yes, I would love her to be the next Gabby Douglas and things like that. I would love that. And if that's her will, I'm going to shoot for it. But there's so many ways that she can make money from just her talent alone. Don't forget, guys, we have YouTube nowadays. Anything that you are interested in doing, I will always tell you, set up a YouTube channel for it. Always. Because one, YouTube has always been lucrative. Okay. YouTube is always have different things on it. It's a free platform for you to do freely what you would like to do. And you can get on YouTube with just starting with what you have. As long as you have a decent little phone camera and, a window, you don't have to worry about too much else. And there's ways around anything else. I can make a whole nother YouTube and a Facebook, a YouTube video and things like that about it. But you really don't need to start. You don't really need too much to start. Now, the ways that I mean by that, I'm going to get into a little bit later, but just keep that in mind. YouTube is a great starting point for making money off of whatever passion you like. So when you help your child, when your child has a talent, right? And you're like, okay, well, she likes drawing anime on her tablet, which is basically the new way of drawing anything. And most of these cartoons nowadays are CGI anyway. They're computer generated. So there is some aspect of she already knows how to draw on the computer. That's big in itself. So maybe she needs to learn how to draw on paper. Maybe she needs to learn how to paint. Maybe she needs to learn a different medium altogether. Maybe she needs to see other ways that people draw in general. Maybe she needs to binge watch other YouTube videos. A friend of mine told me over here in Orlando, there is a school that actually has like scholarships and things like that for young artists. And they just, present their portfolio, see what they do. And then they're like, well, they're very talented, and they take these kids in. But on top of that, they have different classes, very inexpensive classes. Maybe $50, I think, was the most expensive class. And the class lasted several weeks. So that has to account for something. You take them there, they learn other people's way to draw or talents and things like that. And then they are now encouraged to try different things. Now, let's not stop there. Why let the child dabble in only that form of creativity. Now, for me, I always tell my kids, I tell everybody, you have to have a creative outlet. You have to have like a more serious outlet, like writing something. It can be creative, but it has to be more technical, if you will, computers, coding, things like that, and a physical one. So like sports and dancing and things like that, something to get the blood pumping. But you need a little bit of everything. You need range so that you can figure out different things. Because I mean, honestly, when you think about it, a lot of this stuff, you do use all three. You need to be able to know the real word stuff, numbers and money and understand and writing, creativity. And I mean, physical activity is just good for you in general, right? So have your kids delve into other things. So if they like anime is a lot of martial arts. Maybe the child could get some creative, aspects, as a creative, when I look at things in the realm of which I am used to creating in, if that makes sense for you guys. So how I create, I can look at things and figure out how they work for what I need. So she likes to draw anime. So she could go to Kung Fu class or, whatever martial art she chooses and see the body movements and work the body movements better on paper or on the computer. She could go to a computer, graphics like courses and things like that to learn how to do it from the actual like mouse to computer type of situation. So she can learn that aspect, making her better in all these different realms before she even gets to high school. So, I'm still talking about the young lady, and I'm going to broaden on, other kids and things like that as well. But so you just sit there and you're like, okay, well, what ways can I nurture this talent? What ways? And, if you're not a creative, I can understand how it might be harder. Maybe reach out to another person. Maybe you have a family member. A lot of us have several family members that we think this, woke up one day and was just lucky and things just happened for them. But reach out to that family member. Ask them, hey, give me some ideas. How can I make them better at this? How can I make them, love this more? So then when they have more love and passion for it, don't make it hard. And they want to pursue it, then making money from it when they get older will just be one more step. Or maybe, really pursuing the money aspect later will be one next step. Instead of telling them that it's bad and making them sit in a hole with it and then going, well, I guess mom's right. I'm just kind of wasting my life here. Now I got to go figure this out when I am an adult. And then I know a lot of us have done this. And not saying myself, but I know a lot of us have gone through the whole, well, I'm an adult now. What do I do? Where do I go? I guess I got to get this type of job. I guess I got to figure this out. Well, I got to support myself. You don't want that for your child either. No matter how, amazing and things like that you think that type of aspect will be. We're pushing our kids to be doctors and lawyers, but that's not what they want. They want to be artists. They want to be sports, into sports and things like that. And let them do it. Let's figure out how to make them do it and make that money still, right? So you can also doing this, letting them dabble, finding the way they can have their talents, figuring out different ways to do their talents. You have to encourage them to push past even just their regular talents and expand from there, okay? And yeah, so maybe she's great at drawing on the computer, right? But what else can you be good at? Maybe you're even good at painting, but you don't know it yet. Maybe you're great at, another type of artwork altogether, not even anything with drawing, because I'm a creative and I can't draw. Well, I have never really sat down and tried, so I won't say I can't, but it's not something that's ever come generally easy to me. I don't see things the way people that can put it on paper do. But my creative things are more physical and hands-on, or in a different hands-on way, if y'all know what I mean. But, sewing and things like that, creating that way. So maybe take them to a pottery class. Oh, I took pottery in college. It was great. It was fun. It was a nice little outlet. And that's where you start, expanding on what they do. So they're creative. Get them into more creative activities altogether. There's nothing wrong with that. And this does not have to break the bank, guys. I'm just telling you that right now. If you don't know your community centers in your county, a lot of them have different things going on. where you can take the kids for way cheaper than like if you actually wanted them to go to certain type of classes. And this is just a thing to do. Like, say, even if you have the money, sometimes kids aren't interested in things. Sometimes the things don't click for kids. So this could be a nice inexpensive way for you to try out certain things for your kids. So for instance, when we lived in a certain part of Orlando, my daughter, my oldest, did cheerleading. She did swim team. She almost did their gymnastics and their ballet there until another program opened up, and I got a monthly subscription thing set up for that. But she did a lot of stuff at the community center, and my cousin was the reason I even started doing that with her, because she does a lot of things with her children. I maybe spent $50 every 2 months, every month and a half to 2 months. So this is not breaking the bank. This is not $300 in, because a lot of these, martial arts and things like that, they are very expensive. So I can come from every aspect, doggone down to free, because there are, other programs, especially at schools and things. If your child is in school, there's certain school activities that they could be doing to push their talents as well. Okay, so just keep these things in mind. Like, it doesn't always have to include breaking the bank. I know a lot of it sounds expensive sometimes, and we're thinking that, I could never get my kid into that. Just try and find a way. Google search, ask around. Guys, I love Facebook groups. You can literally Facebook group about everything. So you figure out what your kid's talent is, type that in the group section of Facebook, and you find a group and you start asking those questions. Get your kid involved. You see what I mean? And next in line, so we've done that. We've stretched their talents a bit, right? We've dabbled. You see their talent grow. You will see your child's talent grow. It's a beautiful thing when their talent actually expands right before your eyes. And then they say, Mom, they come up to you, they, Mom, Dad, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Mom, Dad, look at this new thing that I figured out. And you're like, you never went to a class or saw a YouTube video about it. How did you figure it out? Well, I just, because I did this and I remember when I did that. That's how things were for me growing up. My mom had me in a little bit of everything, and I literally could go to the store. I mean, my mom is amazed by this, but I literally could go to the store, look at it before a camera phone even, look at an outfit I wanted. Okay, I actually was scrolling down my Facebook page for my designs, and I came across this overall dress that I made, skirt situation I made. And the story behind it is exactly that. I had been eyeballing this pattern that never went on sale. I couldn't afford it. My mom was like, we'll wait on it. You still have a bunch of other patterns you haven't touched. So I said, you know what? I could figure this out. I thought about it, and I went home and I just basically copied one of my skirts and grabbed some hardware from some old clothes, and I made the outfit that I wanted from the pattern. Now, that was because I had seen certain things. I had dabbled in certain things. I knew how to use patterns, so I saw the shapes already. I knew what I needed to cut, how I needed to cut it. So when you give your child that expansion, they figure other things out, and it's going to blow your mind. And like, I sat there doing it, and my mom came in the room, and she was utterly baffled. And I'm like, I don't get it. This is normal to me. You know what I mean? Kids' minds, they grow like that. So you have to really stop worrying about telling the child that there is no money in it, okay? Because, again, digital age, there is a way to make money for every talent, everything. There's things that are talentless, and they're making money, okay? Talentless, like things that you put 2 and 2 together, and you're like, oh, this is nothing, but somebody has made $1 million idea out of it already, and you're sitting there looking crazy, talking about there's no money in something, but you have nothing to show for it. Or even if you do, because there's a lot of doctors and lawyers out there that want their kids to follow, and they're very successful. But that doesn't mean that your kid wants nor is going to be as successful as you, or more. So just keep that in mind as well. Like, okay, well, do I want my kid to be a decent lawyer and unhappy, a decent doctor and unhappy, or I've drilled into their mind this whole time that the only way that you can be anything is to be what I tell you to be, which whatever it is, sometimes it's a doctor, sometimes it's a lawyer, whatever, y'all get where I'm going with that. But then the child grows up and says, well, one, I'm not good enough to do the thing that my parents wanted me to do. And they told me the talents that I did have weren't good enough. So then sometimes you get children, you do have that child that goes into the thing that their parent wants them to do, and they're either staying in it and they're unhappy, or they're unhappy for a short while, and then they come out of it and they go, well, I'm going to do whatever I want, but I've wasted so many years of my life being what my parents wanted me to be. I would never want that for my children. I would never want that for my children, and it saddens me when I see people go through that as adults. Or you get the child that says, I'm not good enough to do what mom and dad wants me to do, or I don't want it. I just don't want it. I don't care to go for it. And then they say, well, I don't know anything because the talents that I had as a child were never pursued. I kind of put them in the back burner because, mom and dad told me they weren't good enough anyway, so I didn't even bother. And then you get them where they don't want to pursue anything. So you've kind of shut their whole creative process down, and they're lost adults. I've seen this way too many times, and I don't know why anyone would want their child to be a lost adult. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. You might be a lost adult. You might be have family members that are lost adults, but they get into the world and they don't know what they want, and they can never settle down in anything that they have. And by settle, I don't mean stay in one job or stay in one talent. I mean, they're all over the place. They don't know what they want. Maybe they want to, one day they're doing this and then they up and jump and do that, or they can't stay in that job and they do something else, and they're all over the board and they're never doing anything at all, basically. And it's a very stressful place to be, and it's terrible when you have a person go through that for so long. And then maybe they find themselves, and some of us don't. So you don't want that for your child. So keep that in the front foremost of your mind when you're thinking they're never going to make money in that. Okay. And you got to break that down in your mind and say, that is not what I want for my child either. But then again, they might say, hey, I remember as a child, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a veterinarian, but my mom never once told me I had to. She never once told me I needed to be. And I wasn't in that environment. I just thought it was a good idea. I like science. I like the body and animals. So I thought that was a good idea at the time. And I changed it later on. So imagine I would have been a doctor, a lawyer, or something like that, even though my mom didn't ask me to be. So you never know what your child is going to do. We're just trying to stop them from being stifled. You see what I mean? You don't want their creativity and things like that to be stifled. Now, getting on to the meat behind, they're not going to make any money behind that. How do we find ways to monetize our kids' talents? So I'm going to name a few things that I've heard that people are like, there's no money in that. So we're going to go into art, as in drawing, painting, sculpting, making things, okay? Making abstract things, making things that maybe aren't purposeful, if that makes any sense, guys, as in art, okay? And then we're going to go into fashion design, or along the lines of create, that side of creativity, music. Okay, because I know all that is kind of art, but I want to be specific about what parts of art I'm talking about, because all of them kind of have different ways to make money. And I read a lot of books about things like this, so that's why I'm giving you guys these ideas. And then video games. Y'all weren't ready for that one, maybe. Video games. So let's talk about ways we can make money with those things. Now, starting off, we can talk about art, right? So we talked about the little girl making the art. So what ways can we monetize that? Well, obviously, drawing things and selling them to people, right? So in this digital age, we don't have to worry about sitting here drawing a painting and peddling it on the streets and being starving artists anymore. And that's the problem with the mentality behind there is no money in art. Now, I broke this down. I have my niece has been through the same thing. I have an older niece, and she's been through the same thing, being told, there's no money in art. Why are you even bothering? And she's amazing at such a young age, barely out of middle school, just in middle school. Amazing talent. She gets it from her father. She's just, just came out just drawing and things like that. So to me, it's amazing, creative to creative even. But let's talk about ways that she can actually monetize that. So one way that I showed her is there's a young lady on Instagram, and there was this, I don't know if you guys know what a Hermes bag or a Birkin bag is. It's a very, very expensive, like thousands of dollars per these bags. And she made a bag that said, this is a fake Birkin, and something like that for a friend or whatever. And it blew up on Instagram. Now, the thing to me about this is not that she makes a purse or anything. What she does is she buys these knockoff purses purposefully, and writes on them with acrylic paint, fake Birkin, fake this is fake. Then, her sayings got a little cute or whatever. And I like that idea because one, like I said earlier, it's very simple. She put two things together. She got some 50-cent paint, white and black paint, and she got a $20 bag. She sells these bags for $100 a pop, and celebrities that buy the doggone Birkin bags are buying the fake ones just because she wants these sayings on them that she painted on. Now, no, that's not talent. That's not a talent. I mean, if you can write any kind of words, you can, paint them on a bag or a shirt or something, right? So that is one way to make money. Now, in the digital age that we have the outlets like Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, where we can easily sell our product, where we can easily market our product for free. Well, not Spotify so much as marketing it on Instagram for free, as far as posting it and getting people to see it and things like that. That is one way that you could put your talent forward. Now, like I said, I'm not downplaying what she does. I think it's great. I think it's amazing. But maybe that's the segue for your child to make their art out there more prominent. Something simple like that. Another way, I saw another young lady, she would take kind of the same thing, but she would actually draw her little characters in her mind on these items like bags and shirts and canvas even. And she would peddle it that way. This is another way to take the art that you like and post it onto something. Now, I did have my kids read a book. I will get into some books that I've had them read that have shown little ways that kids, because I know it's a little different for kids to make money. And one of the ways this young child made money, he took some erasers and he said, I like baseball. And he started writing his favorite team, and maybe it was the team of the area. So he sold them at school. He took these dollar erasers and sold them for $5 a pop by putting a brand. I know that's probably illegal, but we're not going to talk about it. It's a child. So he started doing that, drawing them on these erasers and peddling them through school. Now, if your child is in school or any type of activity with other children, I do suggest you start there with them, because that is their peers, that is their audience, is them. So that makes it easier for them to get themselves out there. So he started making money that way. And then he teaches you in the book to reinvest your money back into what you want. So if you got your erasers, they're sold out, buy more, figure out. And then he expanded and started drawing his erasers with various things on them, more custom, I believe, more, well, what baseball, team do you want on here type of situation. So that's something that he was able to take an art situation and actually, go from there. So that's one way that you could show your children ways to make money, even now, not that they need it, but now to make money, and they get that little bug for, oh, wait, I made money this way? No way. And I'm going to throw another one in there too, social media. We're going to expand on the social media end of it too, because like I said, these are things that people complain that there's no money in, or you think that it's like a lottery winning situation. It's not. So now we got that out of the way, right? So we got that way to make art. Another way, I tell my niece this all the time because she likes to watch people draw, right? Why wouldn't someone want to watch you draw? Now, you're going to hear me talk about this for every single one. There's going to be some aspect of using YouTube to monetize the background of your talent. Okay. So for her, I told her, just start with your phone. You don't have to talk. You don't have to even show your face. Just put the camera some way, get a tripod, put it above you and draw. Just sit there and draw, cut out a few seconds and you're good. And you've got a video. There is a man, I wish I could remember his name. I found him through a Jeff Rose. I talk about him through most of my podcasts. Jeff Rose is a millionaire, or I'm bad at this, guys, but he talks a lot about investing and entrepreneurship on his channel, Jeff Rose Wealth Hacker. And he brought a young man on, and he worked for a huge company that he was making thousands of dollars drawing these CGI characters and characters of the sort. So I guess kids had been asking him, well, how do we draw this and how do we draw that? So he got the good old idea. Now, this was back when YouTube had just started out. So he got in there real nice and early. And he said, okay, I'm going to just show people how to make their favorite characters. Well, then his channel started blowing up, and YouTube at the time reached out to him and said, hey, we want to start monetizing your channel. And he said, of course. Now, he went from monetizing his channel then turning his channel, turning certain things into a course. Now, the course is a separate thing altogether. As in, you can make a course about anything just the same, but a course is something completely different. That's actually setting up a lesson plan for people to follow what you do to do the same thing. Basically, essentially like online school. But he originally started on YouTube. Nowadays, you can get on YouTube at any time, pop a video up, throw some tags in there, and keep going. And people will find you that way. And then you can monetize further down the line. So I just want to explain, like, you see how that branched off. Just like I was saying earlier, we need to keep branching and not worrying about, oh, well, you're never going to be Picasso. Okay, I'm not trying to be Picasso. I'm trying to be whatever. I'm trying to do something different anyway. Okay. So now when it comes to art as a whole, I tell everybody this: if you ever spew the lie of there is no money in art, I never want to see you watch a TV show, watch a movie, listen to any music, wear any type of clothing, don't live anywhere in any type of structure. I floored my niece with that last comment. I said, don't people live in houses? She's like, yeah. That's not art? Did an architect and an engineer not get together and draw blueprints and make sure the lines and the measurements were proper? Yes, it's not. It's a more formal form of art, but there is a certain type of creativity behind putting up a house, especially nowadays with all the different designs and intricate things that can go into it. That is all art, guys. So if you live in a house and you spew the lie of there's no money in art, then why did you pay so much money for your house? Okay, I know it sounds ridiculous, but maybe even decorate that house. If you decorate their house, you just spent money. You went to Home Goods and you spent money on that art to put in your house. It doesn't have to be pictures. It doesn't have to be, it could be knickknacks. It could be picture frames. All of it came from an artist somewhere that had the creativity to make what you bought. If you buy shirts, clothes, anything in the store, some artist came up with that, drew it, and put it on a shirt. And, and they went from there. So when you speak on art as a whole, everything in life is art. Steve Jobs had art when they created their computers, or somebody was an artist when they created these computers, when they created, anything. And especially things that you would think of as commonplace, like a computer. There's different designs for computers, correct? There's different designs for microphones and monitors and things like that. There was someone that said that I could do it better. It would look better if I did it this way. So you can't say there's no money in art. And that's not even the basic stuff of painting and drawing cartoons and such. That is an expansion on it. Okay. So I think I'm pretty good on talking about, art as a whole. Like I said, those are the non-essentials of art. So now we get into music, right? So I was reading a book actually listening to an audiobook the other day called it was called Quit Your Day Job. Don't keep your day job. I'm sorry. Don't keep your day job, or don't keep your job. Forgive me, guys. I'm terrible at this. Don't have my phone about so I can see the name on it. But yeah, so I was listening to it. And the lady that wrote the book talked about how she took her beats and she didn't do the normal thing. She didn't go to artists and say, hey guys, I want, you to put this on my music. I think she did at first, but then she expanded my mind on something I had never even realized. Because when you hear it, you're like, well, dang, that's true. Where did they get this from? So she started, I guess, pushing her music to, for commercials and jingles, and you remember those shows that we watched and they'd be like making jingles and stuff like that. So she pushed her stuff to movies and stuff like that, and come to find out she was making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then there's royalties with certain things like that when you have them in movies and commercials. So I was just floored. A friend of mine is in the same industry and explained that to me. But it was a short conversation and I never really thought about it. And she elaborated on what she went through. So she took her music and put it toward these things. And if you're going into commercials and things and movies, they give you money for that type of thing. That's not like a $10 job. That's not like, hey, make us a beat. That is huge. They need a certain sound. They need a certain feel and things like that. So they get that stuff custom made and not always in house. So it's good to know that you can take your music and expand on it in such a way. And then she named a bunch of the shows that she'd gotten her music attached to, and I had watched a few of them, and I'm just like, wow, I never thought about how that form of music was utilized. And she said, I don't have to worry about an album and thinking of the next song and da-da-da. You put a couple songs out, whatever, and you're good. You basically paid you're good. She made so much money from it. And it's just like amazing to me. We don't even think about those ways to make money. Okay. On these things. So that's just a very short thing. I'm not really big on the into the music stuff. So again, we have things like SoundCloud, YouTube. We have things like Spotify, where we can put our music up. I have another friend. She's always into these atmospheres, going out and singing for people. I remember, maybe I can even say, I remember watching T-Pain open for Akon like 15 years ago. So you never know what music can get you. It's the simplest things, like putting your name out there, putting your name into the hats of the industry. It's not all about just pushing your music out on YouTube and Spotify and SoundCloud. You have to actually put your actual self out there. So if they're not making money because they're making jingles in the garage, maybe you could press them to, submit their work somewhere. There's things. I was in an art showcase. If you're in any major city, most major cities have some type of art showcase. I was in one called Raw, and that's literally all over the world. So you can literally look that up, and it's in most major cities. There's various other smaller ones, other conventions and things like that. And then the YouTube thing. YouTube, I love because people can find them. People can see them. They can put it to pictures, or they could videotape themselves. One of my favorite artists actually now is William Singe. He gets on there and he plays covers, and then he also adds his flair for his thing. So you got covers that bring him to, because I found him through, his covers. And then now I hear his music and I love his music just the same. So it's like, those are the ways that we can branch out a little bit more. So I also mentioned design and crafting things, such as myself. So for myself, I didn't really want to expand on mine, and I kind of upset about that. But at the same time, I found other things also based off what my mom taught me at the same time. But I realized it was taking from me and my children when I did have time for it. So I didn't want to expand on that. But there are ways that you can start off. You want to start off with something that brings people in. So one thing for me that got me a lot of business was making kid stuff. Kids clothes, birthday clothes, things like that, costumes and things like that. I've had, people pay me to make things like that. And then you have specialty items like prom dresses and things like that. I never expanded there, but that's another way to make money from it. Now, you could go into costume making. You could find yourself pushing yourself to make costumes for your local theaters. You could ask, or even just to be a part of. That is a way to get your kids a part of, if they love crafting with design and things like that. Get them into the local theaters. I remember the college that I was going to, that's what they did. The people that were there for design would help with the costumes for the theater classes and stuff like that. So that's one way. Maybe they don't make money from it. Maybe you can find different ways for them to make money from it, looking up things like that. Again, we go right back to YouTube. If your child knows how to sew or anything, when I was younger and I didn't have YouTube, I had blogs. I would look at other people's blogs and look at the pictures, and they'd explain how they cut it. They'd leave their measurements and things like that. I actually made, it's called a Maite. It's a baby carrier. I actually made an actual baby carrier, and to this day, it has baby carried probably 5 or 6 children. I made it 10 years ago from a blog, and before YouTube. And I think I did look on you. YouTube was around at the time, but I made it from the blog posts that I found, like 3 different blog posts that I found on how to make this thing. And mine is so sturdy that it was able to carry several children, and I think I left it with one of my friends. So that should tell you something. Somebody can sit down with you, sit down and repeatedly watch without you having to repeatedly show them. And so I'll bring up one person that inspired me actually to make my podcast and my blog. Her name is Mimi G, and I've been sewing with her patterns for years. I mean, however long she's been out, she makes some incredible, beautiful patterns that are simple yet intricate enough to make them look like they're store-bought. So I was listening to her podcast, Business SHET, and she explained how she kind of stumbled through things. She went through some hardships or whatever, but when she did come across the fact that she liked to sew, people kept asking her, well, how do I sew? How do I make this? And at first she started selling patterns online and, blogging about it. And then one day she started doing YouTube videos and, I think it was a transition from the blog. She started blogging at first, and that's when she was able to sell her patterns, I'll show you how to make this. And there's a pattern PDF for $2 down there below. So now you've got people, hitting up your blog. You're getting ads and things like that. You're getting sponsorships and things like that. And you never leave your house. 2, you never have to deal with people. 3, you're still creating, but you're bringing people along for the ride, and people are enjoying this. People are really engaged. And so I'm not sure how the transition to Simplicity Patterns happened, but she blogs and she YouTubes. She has a YouTube channel for people watching her sew and things like that. So, and then she goes from there. She made a little sewing university situation, or a course. Again, with the courses, you can make a course about anything. And in our digital age, I cannot stop reiterating our digital age to understand how simple it is to do one thing and continuously make money from it. So yes, she puts out her videos, her blog posts, her pattern. So she makes money from her pattern, her blog post, and her YouTube video about the same thing. It maybe took her a few hours. She posted it. She's making money every day from those things, right? But now she has a course. So not only now I'm engaged with her and I love her stuff so much that I'm like, hey, I still am not good enough for this. I want to do your course. I need this course. I need your hand basically holding mine. And that's the thing about courses. People are holding, you're like step by step by 1, 2, 3, and 4. So then she created a course where now people can sit down and have her hold their hand through the operation. Now, a course is just the same as the YouTube video and the blog. She basically made it all into a step by step, situation. And now people are paying her monthly, paying her for this service. So that is across the board. YouTube and course making across the board is so lucrative. You set it and forget it type of situation. You do a couple of things, you post, maybe even batch do it. That's how I do a lot of my content. I batch produce it and I push it out. You schedule it out, things like that. So that way you constantly have content out there and it doesn't have to consume your life, because that's another thing. I might make another YouTube video, another podcast episode about that, because a lot of people are kind of baffled, how do you do it? And it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy, and it does take a little while to get in the groove and stay there. You know what I mean? So those are ways that we can take design and crafting and mold it into something else. And that goes along the lines of the first one that I talked about, of the young lady painting on the bags. It's the same thing. You're crafting something, and these are ways to push it out there. Maybe she makes a video on that sort of thing. And these are, flea market bags or what have you. I don't know about her specifically, but in the realm of dealing with your child and not wanting to break the bank to help them pursue their talents. That's one way. Now, I think we are going to get to social media. So for me, I do a lot of social media things, and I make money those ways. One way I try to bug my children on making money through social media. My daughter does not have any social media accounts. I do run her personal, my daughter's personal, quote unquote, Instagram page. My daughter does have a YouTube channel where that's kind of free range for her, and I help her with her more serious videos like most parents do. But social media is a great way. I actually started following on my daughter's page a young little girl that was, I think, in middle school, and she was doing some of the same campaigns that I was doing. But the thing that floored me is her page. She was doing YouTube videos of basically the similar to my daughter's, is like science and like cutesy stuff for tweens. So it was really cute because I would have totally watched her stuff if it had been around when I was her age. But she's making money from this at 12 years old with her YouTube channel and also promoting things on social media. So if your child is constantly on social media, then figure out a way to help them make money with it. And it doesn't mean that they always have to get out in front of the camera, because some kids aren't like that. They just like to look at other things. But there's ways to get money from that. You see what I'm saying? Maybe they know how to do something that they can now put on social media for other kids. And don't ever tell your kid everyone is doing it. Slime was huge. Like when I say huge, I mean huge for about 2-3 years. And I knew big channels that were doing slime videos because they were so trending. It was trending at the time. And trending is trending. Like if it's making money, why not? You know what I mean? There's 1,000 types of bread in the bread aisle. But y'all are still, no one has stopped making bread. No one company was like, no, well, everybody else is doing it, I'm going to stop making bread. No, it's not worth it. All these cars out here, SUVs, cars, trucks, there's a bunch of different ones. And nobody has stopped and said, I'm not going to do it anymore because there's so many out there already. It's not worth my time. So don't ever tell your child that foolishness either. And don't you think of it either. I tell adults the same thing, because sometimes we have these ideas and we go, well, everyone else is doing it, or there's enough great people in the world doing it. It's not going to work out for me. It's no point in me doing it. But let them make those slime videos. My daughter made a couple of those slime videos. Those did really, really well because people liked it. But I remember slime and flubber and all that stuff being out when I was her age. Yet when we figured out how to make it in 2000 and whatever, all of a sudden it was all the rage. Now we can just make it from our stuff that we already have in the pantry. You know what I mean? Who doesn't have a bottle of Elmer's glue from school and some doggone detergent in their house? Like everyone has that, and somebody figured out how to show kids to make it. So, but people still purchase it too. They still sell it in the stores just like they did when I was a child. So that's something that you could get your children into doing if they do like social media. Say, hey, well, maybe you can be one of those people that you like to watch. Maybe you can be, whoever. Maybe you can find another niche to be in and make your money. You know what I mean? Maybe you can help other kids figure out how to do this. I've seen that as well. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So that's something you can do. I keep hearing TikTok and all that other stuff that makes money. I haven't looked into the TikTok on ways to make money with TikTok. I've done sponsored posts with TikTok, but not, on TikTok making money. But I can't think it's any different than YouTube or podcasting or anything like that. People reach out to you. You're selling something of your own, whether it be, clothes or what have you. So that's another thing. Your kid could get on there and wear their, maybe they made that purse or a shirt like that, or a backpack or an eraser, you know what I mean? And they peddle that on their social media and get other kids interested. So then we're like, okay, well, you're making money on it. I can see why you're on your phone, and we can go from there. Obviously, we don't want them stuck to their screens like that. That's not what I'm getting at. We're not saying we're going to just let them still be mindless here. We are going to still give them other things, but just monetize it. Why not? If we can, especially nowadays, let's do it. So one of my last ones I'm going to go into is video games, because everybody's like, oh, video games. Actually, no, I said movies, didn't I? I said like entertainment. So video games and entertainment. So kids are always on these video games, on their phone, on the games. But a while ago, I was introduced to the idea of Twitch. Apparently, it's been around for a really long time. But guys, I'm sorry. As much as I'm into stuff, I don't know why I didn't know about it sooner. Now, I know that Twitch is not based solely for video games, because there are other aspects, other things that people do on Twitch. But a big one is video games. When I was coming up, I remember hearing about testing video games. That's still a thing. Testing video games, you can make money, you can get free games. Maybe that's a way to help your kid maybe not break your wallet or spend all their money on video games. Maybe they test them and they get them for free. So we kind of have savings in there a little bit. You can show your child testing. I just heard the other day there are different type of competitions. I mean, we all knew that, right? Competitions. But there are various types of competitions for video games that your children can get into and win money. So that's, winning money. That's nice, right? But we're talking about consistent flows of income. So Twitch is one. YouTube, again, it's the same thing. You can go live. You can just stream, whatever. I know I used to make fun of when I first started seeing people do this. I used to make fun of it because I was like, wait, why are we watching this? I get it. There's something, like I said earlier, everything is a thing. So I made fun of something that now I'm like promoting as this is a good way to make money. But I didn't make fun of it like that. I just thought it was funny. But, don't I watch people make stuff too? What's the difference? So just with that being said, if you think it's still ridiculous to watch people play video games, remember we watch HGTV and don't garden or build houses. We all watch, people make stuff on Facebook and YouTube and we don't do it, or we're interested in it and we want to see how to do it next, but we're watching them do it. It's the same thing. It's funny, but it's the same exact thing. So yeah, Twitch is a good way. YouTube is a good way. Maybe you're teaching people about the video game on these platforms. Maybe, you even open up the Patreon and things like that for people to go on and explain, or maybe you're talking about other aspects of the video games. I remember like cheat code videos, and maybe not cheat codes, but just, in those realms, we can still build onto it. I'm sure there's 100,000 ways to build on it. Or maybe you're like a reaction channel about video games. Maybe you do, what's the other one? People like with video games, they go on there and they just talk about them, kind of like, how you do like a Cliff Notes or a movie synopsis, right? But with the video game, about the newest video games coming out, or maybe their favorite video games. Now, I do want to add on to all of these. If you're starting a YouTube, if you're starting a podcast, if you're starting anything under the sun that deals with people seeing you and being able to click links and such, I do suggest that you start an Amazon affiliate account. If you have an Amazon account, it's very easy to just put it under the same account. It takes 10 seconds to do it. It's not very difficult. I'm not really sure how it works for children, but as a parent, if you're not doing anything, or you can make an actual separate account for them, there is a way to make more than one account. I do have a separate podcast episode about the affiliate situation. I do speak heavily on the Amazon affiliate account. The reason why I say Amazon, you can have an affiliate account with just about any company, most of these companies, most of these programs, like anything that you're paying monthly, a lot of stuff has an affiliate account. But I say Amazon because Amazon pretty much has everything. So you can look around your room right now and find at least 10 things that you didn't buy on Amazon, but they're on Amazon. Okay. And so for your children and any of the aspects of artwork, of design, of any of these things, games, you can put a link in their video and their social media account of how they made these products or used whatever. So if they're an artist, well, this is the tablet I use, this is the stylus I use, this is the brush that I use, just like the makeup artists and the makeup gurus on YouTube do about their, their palettes and stuff like that. You can put an Amazon affiliate link in your bio, and the child and people will click on it and they'll say, hey, I gotta buy this. So I recently had a video that's doing amazingly well. It was for a waxing, like your body or whatever, and it did really well. I've been wanting to do this because it's expensive to keep going to the salon, and if you're probably a parent listening to this, having kids and going to the salon is like a really big thing. This is not a sales thing or whatever. I just want to explain this, guys, to you a little bit more in detail. But I did a video on it. I got paid to do this video. So they paid me to do the video on YouTube. So that's one way I made money from it. I made the video, got me money. They gave me a free product that came off Amazon. So the YouTube video is racking up views. That's another way, that I made money. So I've made money 2 different ways from this video. So now, since this video, this product is on Amazon, I have left the link for it in the video. So now people, every time they watch the video, they click the link and I get 24 hours for it to register on their computer to buy. If they buy anything at all on Amazon after clicking that link, I get paid for it. And if I'm not mistaken, it's 90 days if they throw it in their cart. So if they throw it in their cart and a week from now they want to buy it, I still get paid for it if I'm not remembering that wrong, if they haven't changed it. So that's 3 different ways that I've made money from this one video, this one product, in an hour of my time. So I took an hour of my time, I made the video, I edited the video, I uploaded the video, they paid me. Not only they paid me, they gave me a free product, and I made money all these different ways. So what's going to happen is if your child gets into the social media aspect of their product that they want to pursue, I know I didn't go into every talent or every passion that a child might have, but hopefully this is enough to expand if your child is different, to expand on it. I've seen kids write books. I've seen kids have small inventions. I've seen kids, do other things, make their own games and things like that. So this is just, the major stuff that I always see people talk about. So, so if your child is a painter or anything, you you put all the links from Amazon, even if you didn't buy it from Amazon and you find it on Amazon, put that link in your description box, in your podcast interview, whatever it is, put it in there. And now when people see, you will be making money from that. And then even if you get people that start purchasing, that start sponsoring you. So that was my sponsor, was the person that gave me the waxing kit. So your child could start expanding. Some people will start to pay them for their time and efforts in this situation of making the money and things like that. And then when you really expand on it, right, we've shown our kids all these ways that they've made money from it, right? But then we're like, okay, well, what about in the future? What if YouTube doesn't last, the 20 years down the future? You have to find not saying you have to find every way, but you have to find various ways in which they can utilize the information without just the one thing. So blogs has been around forever, and also blogs seem to not be going anywhere unless we don't have the internet anymore. I don't see why blogs would go anywhere. So blogging might be something that you start trickling on your child. Maybe it's a small, a lot of people do like a YouTube video and a blog post. So they might, talk about video games and then also do a blog post about it. But it's the same thing. But some people like to read and some people like to see. And as far as right now, you're listening to a podcast. So I'm going to break it down to entertainment, right? So the entertainment aspect of watching movies and videos and shows. I'm actually, hopefully guys, after I make this podcast episode, hopefully soon my husband will be doing his own podcast as well. Now, everything is a thing, and I continue to say that everything is a thing. You watch movies, you watch TV shows, you watch whatever you watch, and you always talk to a friend about it, right? You talk to a friend, or maybe you're even like me. I've had a few, not groups, but I like meme channels and things like that about my favorite shows. Well, a lot of people make a lot of money having those same type of things for YouTube and podcasts. So I'm telling my husband to do the exact same thing. You love talking about it. We love referencing these movies. I said, I'm going to get on the podcast with you. We could talk about our favorite shows and banter and things like that. That's one way. You're already talking about it. You're already, conversing with people about the show, the movie, whatever. Maybe you're a critic. I know lots of people that are critical about movies coming out. Maybe you want to get on there and talk crap. Or even I see people do that with books and stuff like that. Maybe you want to talk crap. Maybe you want to talk about how amazing it was. Maybe you just want to get on there and just banter with people. Maybe you want to have lives about it. These are all things that you could talk about. And then you put your Amazon links and things in, and you still get to watch your movies. And now you're getting videos. You're doing videos. You're taking 20 minutes out of your time to sit in front of a camera and talk about your favorite movie, or in a podcast about your favorite movie. And then people are listening to it, and you're getting sponsors and you're getting views. It doesn't happen that fast always, but these are some things. They're children. If you're not starting it now, your child can start it now, and they can do it. And they can get money from it now when they don't need to worry about it being sustainable. They don't have to worry about making sure the lights stay on and things like that. They just want a little pocket money, or maybe, that could be their college fund or their car money or whatever. Your kid, oh, well, you're 16 years old, you're 14, 15, you want to talk about learning how to drive, right? Well, I don't have the money for a car right now, so you got to make your own money to get a car. And now you've got this thing that they've taken their video games or their artwork or their music and they've turned it into money. And now they have the money to go out and buy themselves the thing that they really want. The new video game, the car, the whatever, the shoes. So think of it like that. Even if you're like, maybe not in the future, maybe I still want them to be a lawyer. Maybe still, college is still in the works. That's fine. But make sure you don't stress them to the point where they don't know what they want, or they can't figure out their talents, or they don't pursue them. So many ways to do that. And we don't pressure them either in the ways of, well, you have to do it like this, or you got to make money. We don't need to do that either, because then it can make it no fun. And then they don't want to do it. And then we're back at square one of there's no money. There's no money in it because now they don't want to do it. So there's really no money in it now. And, we just keep going on there. Read the books. I'm going to talk about books as well. So in order to start gearing your child this way, and this is a lot of our problem too, a lot of us aren't feeding our minds in that direction. So how are we supposed to know something we've never been taught, shown, or pursued, right? So I've been shown that. So it was easy for me to continue on, once I got back my, mental status of trying to prepare myself for this, I started looking into these things. So you want to watch the videos, go on YouTube, stop demonizing YouTube, guys. We're not going to demonize YouTube. Now, I know a lot of people are like, they don't have a problem with putting their information on YouTube sometimes. Sometimes we do because, we're self-conscious and things like that. I get it. We got to get past that though, because if there's money in it and you're struggling or what have you, it's like, then why not kind of situation, right? You're not doing anything that's going to hurt anything. But when it comes to watching YouTube, a lot of people demonize it, especially for children, because I know there's crazy stuff out there. Trust me. I am not sitting here at all saying, just throw them to the wolves. I'm saying there's monitoring things we have to do. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. But we're not going to demonize social media and that, because that's one way to learn and one way to make money. So you can actually learn a lot of this stuff. So there's videos on what I'm talking about right now. There's videos on learning how to monetize your channel, learning how to monetize your art as well in general. So you can look that up, right? So we're looking to see how to, expand and grow in our minds. So you have to sit there and say, okay, well, what can we look at, right? So we're looking at the videos. Maybe we're looking at the money aspect of how to do the money. I used to watch, there's so many videos on YouTube on a dozen ways to monetize my YouTube channel. And I said a dozen ways? Like, that's impossible. You get views and people sponsor you. Like, what other way? Okay, affiliates, right? That's 3. No, there's a dozen ways to monetize a YouTube video alone. And I've only named like 5 here. Okay? I don't even know. Yeah, I did. I named 5. So courses and things like that. But if that means that there's 5 ways to take a various YouTube channel, anything under the sun YouTube channel, and monetize it in a dozen ways, that should tell you right there that we are really missing some good coin out here, okay? So you can watch those videos. You can watch those videos on building a business in general, because building a business is building a business. Like, it's all the same thing. So whatever, way y'all might figure out, I want y'all to, DM me, hit me up, tell me about how the different ways to monetize anything. You know what I mean? I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. So we can talk about that. We can talk about monetizing kids videos. So not monetizing kids videos, learning kids videos. So kids videos on growing a business as well, because we have to bring it down to their level. So for me, my mom had me read, I was like 10 or 11. She had me read the adult books, but there weren't as many kids books anyway, but she did find a handful and have me read those. So now I'm doing the same thing with my kids, and I'm finding all the videos and the books that they can read. Jeff Rose is not a kid-friendly channel. It's an adult channel for learning business, but I mean, he's interesting enough to watch, so maybe you could watch it with your child if there's a relevant episode. He has a lot of episodes where he teaches his children how to invest, so that's important. Investing as in investing like stocks and stuff like that. There is a little girl, I forget what her name is, but you can search it. I literally just typed in teenage millionaire painter or something like that, and it's a little girl. Her parents homeschool her and she makes millions of dollars. She actually supports the family with her amazing painting creations, right? So instead of her family sitting her down and saying, oh, there's no money in it, they said, okay, well, how can we, help her better herself? They allowed her to do what she does. And now that she's homeschooled, they kind of let her just get up and paint and, do the rest later. And she literally, when I say literally, is a millionaire. She gets hundreds of thousands of dollars for some of her paintings. She makes money all the time from selling these paintings, selling reproductions of her paintings. Like, that is amazing. This little girl can paint so amazingly. And like, okay, yeah, you think, oh, well, she's just an amazing painter. No, her parents sat down because they could have just sat there and been like, well, she's an amazing painter, but there's no money in art, and never done anything with her. And she could still be making this incredible art or stop, but they wouldn't have the money. So it's not like they pushed her, they could have, but you know what I mean by that. They didn't no, this is all you can do. But those are the positive things. So that video was big for me. I don't know too many videos that actually are for kids or by kids. But again, just do a search on YouTube. You can't, you know what I mean? Like, you just cannot sit back and say, oh, there's just nothing. But these are a few things that I saw. Now, books wise, one of the books that I read, my daughter will be reading soon, is Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm sorry, there's Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's the adult version, and there's Rich Kid Smart Kid, that's the kid version. It talks about investing and business and learning that. Now, mind you, I read this 10 years ago before the real big digital boom age, and he talks about the ways that we focus on liabilities and not assets, and making money from the things that we need and want and things like that. So that's something, your child might be an investor. There's kids out there. There was that one kid, he was investing crypto coin before it was popular, and, made millions of dollars, and is like, I forget what he's doing now, but he made that, he did that when it wasn't popular because he started trickling his coin into things. There was The Making of a Young Entrepreneur by Gabrielle Williams. That book was really nice that I read that one. Me and my daughter read that one together. And it was about a little girl. She started her own jewelry. And she actually still does it. And she was like 8 when she started, but she came from entrepreneurs, and they pushed her in the right direction and told her, hey, this is what we got to do to get what we want. And she did exactly that. And she still has a growing, flourishing company. So that one was really nice. And it does break down the business aspect a little bit, but it was written by like a 10-year-old at the time, I think, when she wrote it. So that's something beautiful as well to read to your children. There was another book. It's called, oh my goodness, The Secrets of Success for Kids. Something like that. I believe it's The Secrets to Success for Kids. And it's by a young man. He's 17. If you've ever watched a YouTube video, he's all over. Maybe it's because I talk about business and my kids so much, but it was all over my YouTube and my Facebook ads. And this young boy, when he was 17, getting all over YouTube and things, he wrote a couple of books. I think this was his like teaser book. So this book is the book. I think it's free and you pay shipping. Whenever you get into learning how the marketing aspects work, I knew that was what it was, but it was a good book still. And I really loved it. I spoke about it earlier. That's the little boy that was making the erasers. So in his book, he detailed it so perfectly, and it's so simple, and it's very easy for a child to read. My daughter and her best friend read it. My niece read it, and I paid them. That's one of the things I talk about as well. Jeff Rose, Wealth Hacker, he talks about paying his kids to read these books. I feel like it's a good idea because that way they can do what we're talking about in the book, and still have something to go on. And it's incentive, because even if they don't like to read, they have to read so many books for school, so many things. And, a lot of times not every kid is a voracious reader. So I don't mind paying them a few dollars here and there for their books. You know what I mean? And so I had to read that book, and it's wonderfully detailed. Wonderfully detailed. He explains, manner wise, he explains money wise, he explains the what do you call it, the self-confidence behind it as well. He says, well, we think that everyone is just these great, amazing geniuses that just had these amazing ideas, and then, they're famous and popular. And he's like, no, they failed first. They didn't do anything. Everybody told them they couldn't first. And then they kept going. They ignored them, and thank God kind of situation. So it's just wonderfully detailed. And I really, really love that book. Another book that I like, if you've ever heard of the 7 Habits of Highly Successful, oh my goodness, it's by Stephen Covey. The 7 Habits, usually if you just type in the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, I think that's what it's called. I'm terrible, but it's by Stephen Covey, Stephen with a P, with a PH. So it's a great book about different habits that help a lot of millionaires, a lot of successful people in the world. That's the thing that they do. I think he studied a whole bunch of successful people, and he put together these habits that they do. And there's actually a book for children. It's called The 7 Habits of Happy Kids by Sean Covey, which I think is his son, by Sean Covey, Sean. So it's written about these little animals, and they just go out and go through these, life situations, and they turn it into why this one did something kind of like a Aesop's Fables type of situation. Like at the end of this chapter, we learn, but it's a kid's book. Like I literally read it to my 3-year-old and my 10-year-old type of situation. So, and it was a fun book, and I actually want to purchase it. I will leave the Amazon links for the books that I am talking about below, because I know I am terrible. I wrote it down and I didn't include everything that I just told you. I forgot some in my notes, but that's fine. I will make sure there is links in the description bar, guys. But yeah, so these are some books that I'm dripping on my children for them to grow from. I read another book called Who Moved My Cheese? I have 2 more books for my kids. One is called Kidtrepreneurs. We have not read it yet. Again, it was all over my Instagram. It was a free book about kids becoming entrepreneurs. I had to get it. There is this one money DVD that's running around on Facebook. I keep seeing that I want to grab for them as well. And then I just got an investing book for kids as well. I need to just include all those links. I know there's a billion links that I just mentioned, but I want to include all those links for you guys to see. Y'all don't have to even buy them. Just see them. Maybe keep an eye out and see if you see them in the Goodwill. You don't even have to buy them. Just put them on your list to figure out if you want to get them for your kids. But these are some ones that we're going to be reading in the future. She will be reading both Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Smart Dad, Rich Kid, Smart Kid. And I also, after my kids read these books, I have them write reports on them. They write a 1-page report. It's not very formal because it's not a part of their actual schoolwork. It's one of those things that is like a life course type of situation that still is really good. So they kind of freehand a book report on what they learned from the book, and then they get paid for it, and what highlights that they like from the book. So I did like that aspect. It helped them with a little bit of creativity. It helped push their boundaries a little bit. I mean, not everybody has to do that. I don't even think my mom made me do that. I think it was more of a just trying to get my daughter better at her reports. And I was like, you know what? I want to make sure it sticks kind of situation. But these are some good techniques to push your kids in that direction. Another big one is surrounding them with those type of people. So a lot of the people that I talk to, my mom actually did that for me as well. She would take me to her meetings. She had her business meetings. She had, business functions that she didn't always take me. It wasn't that she needed to take me. And she wanted me to experience it with her. She wanted me to be around those type of people and understand other sides of things. So she would take me to these meetings, and I'd have to dress professional and, and keep my manners and things like that. And be around these people. Now, these were adults. These were a bunch of adults. And yeah, every kid is not, what have you. But I see a lot of parents doing this now with their teenagers. And that's beautiful. That means that they need to learn it. That means that they need to experience it. One of the things that I hope to do is bring my daughter to VidCon this year, 2020. I think I'm going to put it into fruition. I have never been. She really wants to go, and she maybe will, get the bug a little bit more with her YouTube channel, or just in general, seeing other people that are doing the same thing she is doing. So that, those are ways. It obviously doesn't have to be as extravagant as VidCon. It could be something simple. You go on Facebook, you find a couple of entrepreneur pages for children, and you or some type of event where it makes kids branch out into entrepreneurship or business or art or creativity of some sort, sewing classes, crafting, anything under the sun, whatever your children are interested in. Even if they don't know, keep asking them, keep prying. What do they like to do? Do they just sit in their room and stare at the walls? Do they read? Do they play video games? Do they cut up their clothes and make new ones? Do they play with dolls? Figure out what works for them. Just keep them interested in something. Keep them, always striving to do better, and you'll find different things that they like to do. And again, like I said earlier, keep pushing them into different things, even if they don't show interest in it. My mom put me in stuff that I probably would have never thought to go into, and I did it, and I liked it, or I didn't like it. I did the same thing to myself in college. I put myself into things like ballet and poetry. I do have a dance background, but not poetry. Pottery. So that's something that you can, put yourself, change up the direction of things. But yeah, you can do things like that, classes, clubs, community resources. Just keep that in mind. And also, one thing that I like to strive to my kids, and they don't always, they're so little. Like, this is not something I've been doing their entire lives. So I don't expect them to keep up with it like I really want yet. But push them to understand what their idols went through. So for my daughter, it's JoJo Siwa. For my niece, it's Billie Eilish. So for my daughter, she's always like, oh my God, I love her, and she does this and she does that. I said, that could be you. You could be that to the next little girl and show that next little girl how she could be you. There's nothing wrong with that. JoJo Siwa will be a grown woman one day, and my daughter will no longer idolize her the same way, or she might, because maybe they will both going in the same direction. But for my daughter, it was just a way to get fire under her. Like, hey, be yourself, enjoy having fun in front of the camera, also have some things that you want to talk about, things like that. Keep the party interested. Now, for my niece, who's a little bit more reserved in certain ways, I always bring up Billie Eilish, because that's somebody that makes music. My niece also sings a little bit, not that she's fond of doing it in front of people, but I always hear her say, well, what if people don't like the way I sound or whatever? And I say, do you think everybody in the world likes Billie Eilish? No. But does that stop her from making money? No. Did that stop her from putting herself out there? No. And like I said earlier, there's thousands of types of bread, but nobody stopped making bread because there's 1,000 types of bread. So there's something out there for everyone under the sun. And the people that don't like what you have to bring out in the world are not going to affect you the way you think they will. And I think self-esteem in that area is a lot for a lot of people. I see a lot of people say those same things as adults. So if we can get our kids out of that habit now, imagine how much more confident and successful they'll be as adults when they don't have that barrier to overcome to begin with. If that makes any sense, guys, I really hope y'all have gathered stuff. I've been dying to put this out, and I know this was a very long episode and I had a lot to say, and I'm so glad you guys came along for the ride. I hope that if you are this parent, or even if this resonated with you, because you might have been that child raised that way, I'm speaking to you as well. If you were that child raised that way and you're just now getting into your talents and aspirations and passions, then go for it. And I hope that this, brought something out for you. If you guys want me to make an episode, a second part to this one, maybe elaborating on a different aspect or more in detail on certain different things that I talked about today, let me know in the comments, and DM me on social media or email me anytime, guys. And I am happy to answer you. And I hope that, y'all can share this on social media and make sure other people are hearing this word. But yeah, you guys, thanks again for joining me for this podcast. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Raising Bosses podcast. I hope you enjoyed, and please tell your friends and family. Go ahead and share this podcast on social media. If you or someone you know would like to be a part of this podcast, please email us at raisingbosses@gmail.com, or you could DM us on all our social medias, our Raising Bosses on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you and goodbye.